Why is your head in your hand, Daymond? Because AI is going to turn this country into a civil war.
The guest today, who is Daymond John. He is the founder of FUBU, which has done $6 billion in sales. He also is one of the most beloved members of Shark Tank, from somebody who had nothing to somebody who became one of the most successful CEOs of our time.
There's nothing new in this world. It's a new way to present it. The top companies in Shark Tank history, socks and a sponge.
So would you rather be hungry or rich as a young person?
Hungry. It's all about understanding that you actually can do it. Stop getting all those things in your head. You need money, make money. I have to have an education. No, you don't. Know your why. If you're waking up every day because you're solving a problem for a person, you're bringing them joy, and you love it, then you can do that.
Welcome back to the Big Deal Podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. The studio looks a little different today, and that's because I am in San Antonio about to go on a stage in front of thousands of people. But right after the guest today, who is Daymond John. He shares all the lessons learned from investing, from building big businesses, and from hustling, from somebody who had nothing to somebody who became one of the most successful CEOs of our time in a category nobody had ever done it quite like him before. I can't wait for you guys to hear this episode. He's a riot, and I took a lot of notes. Your career is incredible. You've been on Shark Tank, obviously. You've started a bunch of companies. You've invested in even more. You're on the internet. You got millions of followers. You speak all over the place. You get standing ovations. But I actually don't think very many people know that you invested in the most successful company that Shark Tank has seen thus far, Bombas, right?
Well, I tell everybody whenever I can that I'm the lead shark with the most successful investment in history, Shark Tank history, on all the Shark Tanks that exist around the world.
I mean, who would have thought it was a sock company, too? I had to actually Google the valuation.
Isn't that a boring company when you think about it?
Yeah, $3.65 billion valuation.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to start there with just, what did you see? Because you were the only one that did it. Everybody else passed.
I wish I could say that I was a visionary on these type of things. I wasn't. I saw great founders that cared about what they were doing. And I went on to Shark Tank because when they gave me the option, I would tell people it was 07, 08. I had 10 clothing companies and 8 of them were dead because nobody's buying clothing when they can't pay their mortgage. So I went on to diversify my portfolio and not get only pitched clothing company because I was known as the clothing company guy. So the last thing that I wanted to buy was clothing. I invested in these guys, but I found that I had always had this theory that in business you have to make it first, then you should master your craft, and then you can matter. I can't help anybody else if I can't help myself. These guys flipped at me on the head and said, no, D, you can make it and you can matter at the same time, because when we're selling a pair of socks, we're giving a pair away to those in the homeless community because that's the number one requested clothing item. And what they did was show people that a kid and a mom and anybody who's buying today want to know not only what did you do for me, but what did you do for somebody else. So a kid will sit across a table from a parent and say, hey, you invested the office at the end of the year. I invested 10 times this year. Every time I bought this, I cleaned up the ocean. Every time I bought this, I stopped human trafficking. And by the way, I bought socks for myself, and for my friends' birthdays, I bought them socks because they're helping people. And it just changed my whole way of thinking.
That's fascinating. I think it's hard to tell if a founder is worth investing in, or to know that a founder is going to be a winner or not. We invest in a ton of companies, and I still obviously get it wrong too. What characteristics made you go, no, these guys are different?
Humble, did their research, did their homework, use what I call the power of broke. The founders that believe that they need a ton of money, that's not the founder I want, because money's going to highlight your weaknesses. If you can't get the same customers with $200, then you ain't going to get them with $2 million, right? You're just going to get one customer at $200 and that amount at $2 million. So what I found was that what I loved about David and Randy, the founders, is he basically said, here's how I started the company. I had 50,000 people in my database that somehow had gotten an email somewhere or another from me in my Gmail or whatever the case is. I hit all 50,000. Hey, The homeless community needs socks, and I'm thinking about coming out with a sock company after the Tom's model. Bah, 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 bah. What do you think? 50% of them said, you're spamming me. Who the hell are you? Leave me alone. Another 50% kind of said, I'm interested. Send me more information. And 5 or 6 people said, hey, a-hole, I'm your ex-girlfriend. Why the hell are you spamming me about your stupid ass socks? Whatever the case may be, but real true entrepreneurs and founders, they're like Steve Jobs. They're the ultimate tweakers, not twerking, tweakers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember that. I think I probably broke like a few GDPR email laws when I started my first company. I was like,
sure.
any person I met was on that list. They were getting spammed. And I think you did some of that same stuff. Like, to go way, way back when you started FUBU, your stories are pretty incredible about some of the hacky things you did in the beginning. Like stuff that now I think kids who are more risk averse, like increasingly they don't do as crazy of things. There's a lot of online interaction, probably things that, you did. People think, oh, I would never do that now. Like, what were some of the craziest unhinged hacks you did to start?
I remember when I started food with you. Now I sound like your grandfather. I ain't had no shoes. When I started food with you, there was no internet. And there was barely cell phone. I had to stand outside the Apollo Theater after those people got out in Harlem after watching the comedy show, The Apollo. And my customer feedback was what they told me about my shirts and my mother. I had to come home like this. Yo, we got to make the shirts. We got to change the blue on that. So, and then when I sold you a shirt, there was no internet. I had to find you the next day. I had to go to your house. So other things that I hacked, I use common sense. I use simple things. I happen to know a lot of artists, video artists, and music artists and various other things. I knew their cousins, their brothers, their uncles. I would know where they would shoot videos. I took 10 shirts for 2 years, the same 10. I'd go to every video set I could. I went to 40 video sets. I got kicked off of 18 of them. But the 22 that I got on, I would put it on an artist, and he'd shoot the video, and I'd take it back. Put another artist, take it back. I remember I didn't have any money to advertise, but I remember seeing all those nasty storm gates outside the store they pulled down. I go to every place I can. I go, hey, if you can let me paint a beautiful white sign of this company that I'm working with on the gates. Now, by the way, you have profanity on there and graffiti on there. If I put a beautiful white sign on there, when those gates are down, the kids are going to see it. When you pull those gates up, because you're supporting a local company, they're going to want to come and support you. I spray painted 300 gates from New York to New Jersey, authorized FUBU dealer. I didn't care that you were selling Chinese food. You were an authorized FUBU dealer. Later on, when Nielsen ratings, you remember that Nielsen rating? I mean, there's a big company called Nielsen that Q and various other things. They were like, when I started making money, FUBU had his first $1 million to spend. And that's today is like $10 million. They said, if you want to put on MTV, 30-second commercial, $6,000, because here's how many people watch this. BET, 30-second commercial, $500. Okay, so you would think that I want to buy for more people. Common sense. Let me see, BET. Last time I went to the projects, there was no Nielsen rating box, and all the cable was hooked up to some illegal line standing out there, and there was 15 million people sitting around one TV. I'm going to own BET for $1 million because it was just common sense.
Maybe common sense for you, but it does seem like your brain just kind of works differently. Like you looked at this market and said, no, I don't want the ego play of MTV. I'm going to actually go with where it converts. Like, I want to make money on this. I don't want to just be a big name.
I think that's being dyslexic. I always say 8 of the 12 sharks are dyslexic. And I think that it's the fact that I didn't know if I read anything, if I was going to read it accurately, and that I'd have to go out and do it. And I think common sense is common sense. But people try... I think it was my mother always said to me, Daymond, we're driving down the street, and she said, we live by JFK, and I saw planes, Empire State Building, all this stuff, and I said, how do men and women build these massive machines, Mom? She said, what are you talking about? Everything that's created in this world, the car we're in, the street we're driving, it started with one person with one idea that took one action. Okay, Mom, well, everybody's rich. No, son, 65% of Forbes' wealthiest 1,000 people are self-made men and women. They're not rich. Or somebody sitting here saying you need money to make money. Well, if you need money to make money, the Fords, the Carnegies, and the Mellons, they've done such great things for this country. The Rockefellers. Their kids have money, but their foundation do great stuff. But why don't they own the Teslas and the Facebooks and the Instagram of this world? Why? Because the first generation makes it, the second enjoys it, and third will destroy it. So it's all about understanding that you actually can do it. Stop getting all those things in your head. You need money, make money. I have to have an education. No, you don't. You don't need any of that stuff. You need to sit and listen to stuff like this and apply these simple rules every single day.
So would you rather be hungry or rich as a young person?
Hungry, because rich doesn't mean anything. Rich. There is no ultimate rich, right? A lot of people think, well, I'm rich. What is rich? If Jeff Bezos woke up with Mark Cuban's money, he would jump out the window. And if Elon Musk woke up with Jeff Bezos' money, he'd jump out the window. There is no, what is rich? Well, what, some working stiff who's working, all day in an office, and on his deathbed or her deathbed, they're looking at a whole bunch of people who sucked them dry and said, man, I should have lived a better life.
You have kids,
I have
obviously. Kids. How do you make sure that they don't turn into that second or third generation that loses it all?
Because I'm not leaving them anything. I put it in my kids' head ever since I was young that they were young, that they were not going to get anything, the same as Buffett and everybody else has done. So what does that do? I have two little girls. They're little anymore. But it makes that, first of all, it stops all the scumbags around going, let me try to become part of their life because they're going to get something. So first of all, you stop 50% of the scumbags. They also create in their head, and it's true, the narration of, I don't need his money. Not only do they not need my money, they don't even want to be part of anything I'm doing because they want to be independent people. Now, my two oldest girls, the internet wasn't around and social media wasn't around, so they didn't have a camera on them all the time. And the only time I ever interviewed, which was my potential biggest break ever, it was when Oprah's producer said, we want to come into your home and see your family. And I never wanted my girls to be under the pressure of being Daymond John's daughter. And they're off for being great human beings. And I think that is one thing. I think other wealthy kids that I know have said sports has been great because a kid don't care who your mommy and daddy is when they want to hit you in the chin for a ball. And now today, my youngest one, that's going to be a different challenge. It's a different day and age right now.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I think about that a lot. I didn't grow up with anything. And so when my husband and I hopefully are blessed enough to have kids, it's just a totally different equation. Like if you fly private, do they have to fly commercial? Like, how do you do that?
That's it. All of this is a challenge. Liz Clayman said to me one day that she grew up in wealth and her father said, the only thing I can't give you is adversity. And it's very, very hard. So I fly private some of the time. I don't fly all the time. And I remember when my daughter, I usually fly. When I'm with my family, I need to be someplace in time. By the way, I want to tell the rest of the world, flying private is a waste of time. Don't do it for other people's reasons. Man, that JetBlue lay down is fantastic. If I go to California, New York, round trip is $100,000 privately. I got to go to Teterboro. I get there probably about 2 hours earlier than you. If I want to lay on the plane, I got to go on the back and kind of by the bathroom area. I got to see if I'm going to get a stewardess for the plane or not. It's $100,000. I save the only thing I'll do is save 2 hours. For those 2 hours, if I go commercial, I get paid $96,000 for those 2 hours, right? That I didn't get there on time with you. You know what I can do with that $96,000? And the plane, not the worst part about the plane is I'm a little bit of a tree hugger. I don't want to pollute the world for this stupid little plane. But those light jets, the light or mids, they can't take the wind like those big ones. But the worst part about the plane? It's like getting a free pet. Now you got to get shots of the little thing running around here. You got to get diapers, and you got to clean up this rug where it's scooched on the carpet. You got the brown stain looking like planes with chocolate wheels are landing on your carpet. It's having the plane. Your friends are going to want to go on it, and then you're going to go to Vegas and spend $200,000 on a Tuesday because you got a plane. Don't get any planes. That's why you see athletes in lotto winners are bankrupt 3 years after leaving the league or winning the lotto, because they don't know how to use the tool of financial intelligence because we got to get a plane. I made those mistakes.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. And it's these days I think people want to look rich, not be rich. And what a dumb move, way better.
It is. But, we're all human. What's your why? Somebody said, well, Daymond, you're famous. How many people are going to see you on the plane? I don't know. I could wear a mask now. A hot 20 people are going to see me. Is my ego that big that I need to pay $96,000 so 20 people don't see me?
Yeah. Well, plus, why is it a bad thing? Well, I mean, Mario Lopez is one of my favorite longtime actors, and he flies Southwest with his kid. And I think that is so fucking cool.
Barbara, unless somebody's paying for her, she'll fly coach. Daniel Lubitsky got a lot of money. He will never get on a plane with his kids unless he gets on a plane coach.
I'm a little bit of a pain in the ass. I want to be first class.
I'm not
at
sleeping.
least.
I'm
Yeah,
not
I
going
wanna
coach.
be a
No,
coach.
I was
I'll
acting all
just
cool
say
just
it.
now. You know what? I started to get claustrophobic. I've traveled 250 days a year. You know what I mean? I'm not, listen, who was it? Bill Gates rode the train up until they said you just have to stop riding the train due to your, safety. I'm a New Yorker. I'm used to hopping in cabs, trains, so it's just, I don't do it for the wrong reasons. Do it for the right reason. If the check is bigger than that plane ride and for the right reason and time constraint, yes. And if you're family,
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson for life in general. If you can't really cash the check for a bigger reason, probably don't do it. I'm kind of curious. So you've been in clothing forever, since FUBU, and invest in a ton of other clothing companies. Are there brands today that you're like, God, this one's underrated? These
This
are
one,
sleepers.
they're getting it right.
Yeah.
I like a company called Actively Black. They're the new version of FUBU to me, where they had the license for Marvel, they had the license for Tupac, so they had Black Panther and stuff like that.
That's smart.
Nike still gets it right in a sense, and I'll just say a reason why. They'll do a custom shoe for one person. You'll say a $30 billion company doing a custom shoe for one person. But what they're doing is they're putting that algorithm together of all those people that ordered these type of custom shoes with the same color, the size, the fit, and you're actually creating the line for them for the following year. I think Under Armour gets it right. They were able to successfully convert from shoes to now hunting apparel and various other things. I mean, I like the Hokas because, I'm 5'7.5", and when I wear Hokas, I'm 5'9". I can finally look at my wife in the face. Yo, I'm saying, don't talk to me like that, baby. Louis Vuitton is the largest company in the world. They get it. They get it right. They get it right for the right reasons. I don't want to go into how there's so many ways that they get it right. Hermes. I was watching the founder of Hermes speak one day on a 60-minute interview, and he said, and I don't know if I want to say it the right way, but he said, expensive is something you regret, but luxury is something that you never you don't regret. Now I'm bastardizing the way he said it, but he basically said, expensive is like, yo, look at this watch, and it's cool, but it's not that Rolex that you invested in. And in Hermes bag, he showed the process it took for one bag. Now, my wife has a bunch of Birkins, and she always says to me, honey, these are like investments. You know how much they appreciate. So I usually go to her and say, well, when are we going to sell all these investments? They have appreciated a lot. And then I'm sleeping on the couch that night.
It doesn't work out.
But I think she's selling it for when I'm in the dirt.
Exactly.
And then, she's cool.
That's her 401k female version.
Getting pretty depressed.
The richest people in the world didn't just build, they bought. They didn't come from riches. They used other people's money and a ridiculous amount of sweat. People will tell you you can't. Yet didn't you know there isn't a multi-billion-dollar business out there that didn't do some type of acquisition? Amazon, 110 companies bought. Facebook, 96. The Sage of Omaha himself started buying a gumball route. They didn't listen to those who said they couldn't. They found aging owners, made connections, took risk, repeated. Today, the hardest thing to do isn't buy a company. It's start and keep a profitable business. Around here, we don't hope and pray for profits. We buy them. Real businesses, 56,000 of them, real profits, custom deal box so you can swipe left and right at your pleasure, maps find businesses close to you, off-market deals where no one else is even looking. This is how you become an owner. Well, I was curious because it seems like there are some legacy brands that are resurging. Like Abercrombie and Fitch, I never thought I'd see a day where that was cool again. And now one of the most successful clothing brands by market cap, huge growth numbers. Like, let's say you got your hands on a legacy brand like Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, something like that. What would you do to turn around an old school company?
Well, I have one. It's called FUBU.
That's true.
And you have a good point. It's all about the execution, right? So every brand will get rediscovered. Fashion, pretty simple, every 10 years. There are one that will stand the test of time: Tom Ford, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Hermes. But even my brand, FUBU, I think it was a good question. Like I got another brand, Codie, that I put out too. But I personally don't have the time to run FUBU the way it should be. It's an execution. And my partners and I, we never sold the brand because we love what it stands for, but we still do a good amount of business. But could I make it probably $1 billion brand again? Yes, I could. It would be a whole different model. It would be right now, I would have to go where the world is. FUBU, when it first started, it was a surprise to see an African-American owned brand that was kind of like the first hashtag of clothing that people of all colors loved. So for a store to carry it, it showed we believe in with this culture. Today, if I were to, and we have suits and we're good in Philippines and other stuff, but today, if I were to relaunch it today, what is FUBU? For us buyers, what do people want to do now? They want independence. So I'd probably have one male, one female in every college, and one male, one female in every high school. They would get, on credit, they would get $1,000 worth of FUBU for $500 worth of credit. I'd bank it by one of the banks, JP Morgan Chase or whatever. And they would sell the clothing and they would make $500 each allotment. And when they get to a certain point, they would get digital assets, maybe your podcast, maybe social media, maybe AI, maybe whatnot, Amazon, whatever the case is. And then when they time out of that school, they would bring somebody else in, very much like the Avon model. And that's what I would do, because it would be then FUBU would be empowering us here while we sell to our community. That's what I would do with that brand. But I
so
just don't have the
interesting.
time.
Yeah, you would basically make it a streetwear brand again. It's not going to be you on the street knocking on doors, but you're just going to proliferate yourself.
Right, and instead of the FUBU guys being the FUBU guys, I would have contests on who's the new FUBU guys and FUBU girls, and you would be the FUBU guy and FUBU girl in your community in Detroit or Colorado or this school or that school for that year. And you would create your own user-generated content, and we would sanction and put it on the site of saying, if you're in this city, this is who you can go to get the product, whether online or here. But again, all this stuff is really easy to talk about.
Yeah.
Execution is where it's at, because I have my own ideas. And you see, I don't have time to execute them.
What? Do any other clothing companies do that? Like, I've never heard of somebody having like a Avon sort of style model.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure that, like, I know my boy who used to own Young and Reckless, but he owns something called, I've got the jean company. What he would do is put in a box, a guy would pay $50 for it, 5-4 denim, I think, and a man would get $100 worth of clothing for $50 a month in this box. And why was that a good model? Well, in the clothing business, the way the retail works, if I made it for 25, I sell it to Macy's for 50, and they sell it for 100. The clothing company's still making the $25 it was in. They put it in the box. However, here's the thing about especially guys, but anybody. If I know now that I got 100,000 guys, well, I know how many 34s I need, how many 36s I need, how many 38s, all the sizes. I got a lower form of return. Women, it's a little different, because the woman, when she first buys a brand, if you sell her something, she's gonna buy 2 sizes, because she doesn't know if she's a 10 or she doesn't know if she's a 12. She doesn't know what and the jeans fit a little different. But I'm gonna have a lower amount of returns. I'm gonna know who the customer is. And you know what they started doing after that? They started saying, hey, Gillette, you want to put your new razor in all the boxes? You give me $1 million. So there's different ways to have these subscription slash tiered models.
So I know in our businesses, So right now we own a bunch of boring businesses. So I
Bunch of
own like
what?
boring
Yeah.
businesses like an HVAC, roofing, painting, window cleaning. And I know, for instance, in the painting business, we want to like get a toe in by you saying we'll paint some walls inside of the house. But what we really want to do is like paint the exterior of your house. We want to paint the whole thing. That's where we really make the money, are the big projects. And then we get like one house on a block. And if we get one house on the block, we know we do a door knocking strategy. So like we'll at least get 1 to 2 others on that block. So we're like maybe even lose money on the first house to get on the second or third. I was curious in clothing, like what items sell and they just make the most money? Like,
Oh, you're talking about the bread butter,
yeah.
the margin builders, as we call it.
Yeah.
Clothing makes almost zero money off of anything else besides jeans and t-shirts.
Why?
Well, because jeans and t-shirts are easy to make and people go through the t-shirts and stuff like that. I mean, Louis Vuitton, if you look at Louis Vuitton, I mean, when people leave, what do they really leave with? A belt, a wallet, or some kind of keychain? Right? Those are margin builders, as we call them in the business. In the business, for the most part, almost 60% of all sales in clothing is black.
Wow.
20% is white. The rest is just sprinkled in between.
Interesting. This is a very dumb question, but I always wonder why. So if you go to like Chanel or Louis or whatever, you can buy a pair of shoes for like, I don't know, 600 to 800 bucks. But then if you want to buy a shirt, like at Chanel, it's like $4,000. Why are they that much harder to make? The shoes seem like they would be more expensive to me to make.
Well, it depends on what they're making in the Chanel shirt, right? What product they're making, and what is I mean, it could be cashmere, it could be a lot of other stuff, but the margin builder is going to be the simple black dress.
Interesting.
Right? But the shoe itself is, once you make the shoe in the mold, you can replicate that mold various different ways. A shoe is actually hard to build. It's like almost like building a car, because what happens is in the shirt and stuff like that, it fits, it doesn't fit. But on a shoe, there's 130 pounds on that shoe. And the ER every single night in every single city is there with a woman who split her toes or her broke her ankles due to those shoes. So there's a lot of balance and a lot of stuff going on. But once you replicate that mold, you're going to put that same mold together with a different upper, different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I never thought about that. It's always bothered me. I'm like, how come I could buy that for 600 bucks and that's 5,000?
Yeah, because that 5,000 one, they're only making, 20,000, or they're making 5,000 units of that, or 2,000 units globally, Chanel. And that shoe, they're making, 40,000, 50,000 units of it. So they're buying by bulk.
You're right. Okay, that explains it. I wanted to talk, obviously, a little bit about Shark Tank.
Yeah.
You've seen a ton of pitches, and I've had friends actually pitch you. I've had friends get money. Ooh, I don't know if I've had friends get money from you, but I've definitely had friends pitch you and pitch all the sharks. If you had to break it down formulaically, what are you like, this is a pitch that works and this is one that doesn't? What is a good way to pitch to get
The
money?
pitch that doesn't work for sure is the people that immediately come in and everything is hypothetical, and they assume they don't have a history of things, and they go, the number one thing that you can say that I immediately check out, or I give you some kind of royalty offer like a Kevin O'Leary, because I go, this person's almost out of business, this is a $50 billion market, and if I only get 1%. I guarantee you every one of the sharks are almost out. Or Kevin O'Leary will give you a finance offer because he doesn't care if you do well or not. He just wants his money back, and he's taking a flyer on if he gets a percentage of the company down the road. The greatest pitches that I have seen, they're always a story. They're always very infomercial feeling, because what they're doing is they're introducing that a problem either exists that you know or exists that you don't know. They're talking about who they are and why they're qualifying that they're the person to solve the problem. They're giving you some kind of proof of concept, an essence on why. So it's like, hey, Hey, Cody. I'm Daymond John. And you know what? For years, the hip hop community has had to buy their clothing from other designers that didn't care about them, that said, give me your money. I don't like you. But I've been a fan of hip hop for 10, 20 years, and I know everything about hip hop. And I'm going to create a clothing line called FUBU. There's no such thing called the internet, but if you're across the street and you see me, you know what I'm into because I'm FUBU. I am going to connect people through a community. And people in the past have had to, if they want to buy African American type of clothing, they had to do kente cloth clothing. Who wants to wear orange and green and red? I'm going to create blue jeans like a blue jean. This is the cowboy, the Levi's of cowboys. We are the Levi's of the urban kid. And it's going to be about 20% more, but it's going to be quality in it. And if you invest right now, I got superstars like LL Cool J ready to wear it.
I'm in.
So you're qualifying yourself, and telling the story.
Yeah. Now, what about, on Shark Tank? Obviously, it's a TV production. How much of it is actually like produced? Are there takes and they get to go again? And like, is there a fake component of it?
No. There's only one component of it that in case I'm talking and I'm saying I'm out and Barbara's just doing her normal rambling because she didn't take her medicine and the mics don't pick it up, we do a day where nobody's there and we say, and for that reason, I'm out. So you catch the audio of the actual clean I'm out. But there is nothing produced. Remember, this is our own money. And ABC and Mark Burnett and them, they don't want to get in the way of us spending, losing, or profiting off of money. So an average pitch is 1 hour long, maybe half an hour to an hour long, 16 cameras shooting it. So an hour pitch is 16 hours of footage for you to see 8 minutes. Takes us 6 to 9 months to close the deals. We close about 60% of the deals. The guy who's with me in the room today pitched on Shark Tank 13 years ago, some little company called Hanukkah Tree Topper. We ended up licensing a lot of the company out and doing well with it and been my head of my sales for 13 years after that. So it's real people, real businesses.
Fascinating. What percentage of deals like actually made you money?
Like what?
Made you money?
I don't even count what's made me money because if you really think about it, and Barbara's really good with her P&L. When you look at my staff, when you look at me traveling, when you look at the hours and time in it, I don't look at them. But I'm positive because of certain exits and shares that we've sold. I am positive, but it's almost like the venture community. I think 2 out of 10 is winners. I think we have 3 out of 10 because we have a baked-in commercial.
Yeah, 100%. You have the hardest part, which is distribution.
Yeah.
The hardest part wasn't creating T-shirts; those existed before. It was getting somebody to actually say yes and give you the cash.
Correct.
And so, we see this all day. I have this brilliant AI strategy, and we're gonna change the world. And I go, awesome. Who have you sold it to? And they go, well, nobody. But the second I get the money, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
you guys get to sell immediately. I had a few friends that came on Shark Tank, and I'm sure you guys saw that. Did you see a lot of people come on Shark Tank that were like actually didn't want your money? They just wanted your distribution, so they gave you crazy fake offers.
They wanted the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Plenty of people. There was a certain time when a lot of people did that. So what I do is pretty simple. After we do the deal, in a handshake, I walk over to them and I give them a piece of paper, very short one, and say, take it to your attorney, and it says on there something like, you're not gonna publicly shop this deal for another year after you air. Totally up to them to sign, but if I see them hesitating, I know that they're looking for a commercial. I don't mind you looking for a commercial, I get it. However, there's a serious matter. The show was founded in 07, 08 when we went through a very hard time in this country. You're only gonna have about 96 people that air. 1,000 people will see the producers and 40,000 people applied. If you have $2 million in the bank and you have your hat in your hand asking for money and you have you don't plan on closing a shark, you took that slot away from a family who risked everything, who their kids are not going to college. They're about to lose their house and they want a shark to desperately help them. And I think you're a selfish bastard for that. I think there's a lot of other places to pitch those ideas and nothing wrong with founders who have money. But that show is for the American public. And people don't understand you got $1 million in the bank. Not today. when people can't pay their mortgages. So that's why I do it. So I have a problem with people who try to abuse the platform.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way, actually.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think about Shark Tank not from that sort of like that deep, heartfelt portion of it. It's just like, cool company, give them cash.
No,
Bye.
we love these people. These people are our partners. These people are people who are allowing us to invest in their dream. They're holding a space, and there's a fiduciary duty of investing in another person's dream.
I agree with that. You know, let's go to the other side of that, which is I've certainly lost a lot of money doing deals, and I like up to now, knock on wood. I don't know if I'll always be able to do that, but I have never lost money for other people, which is always like kind of the line that freaks me out, you know. And that's probably a bad thing in some ways. I should probably get more comfortable with losing.
No,
Some, no.
I can't sleep at night if I lose some money, and I lost money for probably about 2 guys.
Yeah.
And I still, till today, I want to do it the right way. If I have another business that they can get in where they're going to make their money back, I'm going to make sure they're first up.
Yeah, yeah. The place where I regret investing the most was I invested some in the cannabis industry early on.
Okay.
And it's not that I regret cannabis itself. I think I regret the way that it's happening now. I think the THC levels are like too high, and I think the way we're doing it could actually be bad for people's health.
Sure.
But I'm not a doctor. But I invested in the industry that really needed regulation to happen. And if deregulation didn't happen, it wasn't going to really change. And so I remember like one deal, we almost lost 12 million and then it got down to 1, you know, and we did a workout of the deal. But that was
Excellent.
fucking awful, you know, terrible 6-month period. But thank God we only lost $1 million. So it sounds like a lot. I was wondering, what do you think's the most amount of money you've ever lost on a deal?
Probably about 6 million.
And did that hurt? Like, do you remember what happened?
I'm about to cry. Yes, it hurts. It hurts a lot. I don't want to actually remember it. Yes, it hurts. Losing that kind of money hurts. It hurts the wallet, but it hurts knowing that you put people to work, knowing that you didn't make maybe the right decisions. You could have done better. It's your job. What did I do wrong? Why didn't I see it? Did I let my ego get in the way? Did I pick the wrong people? Man, how are these people going to look at me now? They trusted me. I don't know what they were going to do with that money. Yeah, they may be wealthy, but it doesn't matter. That's not my problem. I can't count their money.
I think most entrepreneurs have something like that, like a moment where you kind of stood in the dark alone, maybe didn't tell your wife, didn't tell your kids. Everything was kind of going sideways. I've certainly had them. My dad calls it the head in the hands moment.
The what?
The head in the hands moment.
Yeah.
And I was curious, have you had one of those?
Plenty of times I've had that. I have it now. You know, I was speaking to someplace and they said to me, "What are your hobbies?" I said, "Oh, you know, snowboarding, going to UFC fights, and fishing." And I said, "Wait a minute. I really haven't done none of that in the last year." And they said, "Why?" I said, "Because my head is in my hand." "Why is your head in your hand, Daymond?" "Because AI is going to turn this country into a civil war. Because when the have-nots don't have anything, they're coming after us. So what am I doing right now with this AI that's clear, that's going to put me, my company, and my people in the right place to be that small percentage that's going to be able to thrive? Because if I don't think and see where that puck is going right now, we're all in trouble in my company and in every company. We're all in trouble." And then I started thinking about it. Wait a minute. What is AI going to lose and not have? Never going to have community. People are going to need to piss, shit, and eat. People are going to need medicine. If we are going into some kind of war or problem because 80% of the people are going to be replaced by autonomous vehicles who are truck drivers, retail is gone, and then all of a sudden you got Amazon just bought 750,000 robots, so nothing there. If all those people are going to need to feed their families and they're going to come after some of us, well, then I should invest in security companies and various other ways to make the place a safer place. So my mind is right there. Where is it going?
Interesting. So what is your answer to that? What industries are you investing in today, and what are you telling your employees to do?
Well, I think that if robots are gonna be $30,000 a piece from what do you call it, Tesla, in 2 years, they're gonna be 5,000 in 5 years. If people moving further out and they don't have enough income, well, then you can create better glamping in various areas. Imagine having 20 robots on 400 acres of land, just cleaning and doing everything it needs to be so that you can create better communities for people. If biohacking and health is coming around, imagine if you're getting people cleaner ways to take care of their body and their health. It doesn't cost a lot because technology is showing people how to improve their lifespan. You know, if you don't know if you're talking on a screen to a robot or whatever the case is, community is going to be bigger and better. So how do you create better communities so they can educate and they can protect themselves? So we have to find the beautiful things that work in AI. Do I think we're going to be good? Yes. I think we're going to be great. But you have to be the one thinking about it now. You don't want to be the person who's working at the library saying, why are you looking at Google? Come over here and look through an encyclopedia. You want to be that person looking at Google saying, how are we using it the best? I like your idea. I love buying boring businesses because as fast as AI is, it's not going to change the entire world. Like my buddy, Matt Lieber, who teaches trade, Crash Champions. You know, you can go to college now, and let's say you're a doctor. A doctor used to have to need 20 years of education to look at a scan. AI will look at your scan quicker than a doctor ever will. Do you really need that now? Trust me, do me a favor. If you're going to cut open people, go to college. But a kid graduating college today is going to barely make 70, 80,000. A kid who does a trade, like in my buddy Crash Champions, or HVAC, or these things that people don't want to do anymore, they're making 70,000 coming out of high school. They're not borrowing $500,000 to $700,000 worth of student debt that they're not going to pay off until their 50s. And they can take college courses at the same time as being an HVAC person or owning a car wash. I think the world is getting really simple, and you got to go back to the basics and then add AI to it.
Yeah, it's smart. Well, it kind of goes back to your book, which I loved, The Power of Broke, about, AI is not going to hustle for you like a human. Like the creative will become so much more important because the everyday will be way too easy. Like it will be too easy to mass spam, mass email people. So you're gonna have to fit, like it actually might full circle revert back to the door knocking, back to the neighborhood
It
signs,
is.
you know?
That's the point. Rick Rubin said something the other day was fascinating to me. He said, AI couldn't have told the Wright brothers to dream.
Oof, what a line.
Right? The thing that makes us imperfect makes us perfect. The ability to say, I'm going to knock on all these doors and I'm going to tell them something a computer can tell them, but not with the emotion because I'm a pack animal. I'm going to look them in the eye and say, see that house down the block we painted? Look how beautiful that house is. Yeah, you can get painted from any place else. I'm going to bust my ass to make sure this fucking house is perfect.
One of my favorite lines from Daymond is the easiest thing to sell is the truth. And if you listen to Daymond talk, you'll hear him say again and again and again that the most important part of building a business is to do it your way with your unique angle. And there's an angle every single time. We obsess about this in the SMB boardroom, where we teach people what we call finding your avatar, which is finding the angle on your customer. Most people do not spend enough time thinking about brand, customer, avatar, and angle. So we obsess on it for you. For 1 year, we work together with the best entrepreneurs who are focused on growth sustainably and want to use our operating system in order to do it. If you are running a business that is on a path to do hundreds of thousands of dollars a year or millions of dollars a year, you're going to want to check out the boardroom and see if you're a fit. We will help you find your angle and your avatar. I'd love your take on brand because I think that's one of your zones of genius, obviously. But, we have this window washing company called Pinks. And Pinks. Yeah, it's super cute. I should have brought one. I should have brought a hat for you. But anyway, it's these two young dudes and good-looking guys, dress real sharp in uniforms, kind of like throwback '50s era uniforms, cursive, like hand stitched, little pink towels they throw over their shoulders. They're good-looking dudes, all of them. Now there are 100 locations all over the country. But when it started, it was just two guys in Austin, and they do these. What do they call it? Comp cleans, where they go to local businesses like prominent institutions in Austin, and they clean them and make them look nice for free. And their whole thing is like bringing dignity back to window washing, like bringing dignity back. So when they go and pitch, the commercial building, sure, there's some big, huge company that they're pitching against that's probably cheaper, that's probably has better systems, but these two guys show up and they look the guy in the eye and they say, we not only do I want to do your first one for free, but like it's me and my buddy here, and we started this company, and we're going to be out front with like our cool designed thing, and we want to put you on Instagram, and they win. And so I do think this brand is going to be so important in an era when like a lot of execution's cheaper.
You're 100% on, because you got to remember, and I'm a very simple guy. There's nothing new in this world. I always say it. The voice is not new. It's just American Idol. They just turn the chairs. And American Idol is Showtime of the Apollo, and Showtime of the Apollo is the Gong Show. It's not new. A young kid in college stood up and said, Mr. John, I'll tell you what's new your old generation doesn't have. Emojis are new. No, they're not. They will call hieroglyphics, you moron. Go sit down. Now, there's nothing new in this world. It's a new way to present it. The top companies in Shark Tank history, socks and a sponge. Damn scrub daddy. Lori ate my lunch on it.
That was a
And every
great
time I
fucking
go to the
company.
grocery store, I see that damn sponge smiling at me. $1.3 billion worth of sponges. She's slinging plastic like Happy Meals. She's killing our oceans. But you know my buddy Ryan Dice out of Austin? You know Ryan?
I do, not like personally, but I know
Ryan
of
is a
him.
genius. He says, listen, let me show you. You know how you can market he said he remembered marketing and Roland. He remembered marketing a lawnmower company. He says, he said, I remember I got a brand new lawnmower. Oh, I'm gonna do it. He said, and I remember I got out there and I got that thing ready and I forgot I needed gas. And I went to the gas station. He says, I live in Austin. I left, I was 180 pounds. I got back, I was 160 pounds. I'm sweating. The day's gone. I got grass and bugs flying all over me. He says, so I hired a lawnmower company. They came over and it was Saturday after a hard week of work. I had this damn lawnmower out there. Nah, these guys are running around the yard. My wife's naked trying to get dressed. And she's like, who the hell's in the yard? He said, but another company came back and said, you know what? We mow lawns during these hours when you're at work. You tell us when, because we want to give you your Saturdays and your Sundays back.
Good line.
You tell us when you're at work, we'll tell you when we're going to be there, and we will be there. Everything has an angle. There's nothing new in this world. So whether it is we're bringing the dignity back. Some people want to feel good. Come to our business. Everything. You see the people cleaning the windows? We're perfectionists in everything we do, from who we hire to who we work with to how these windows are going to look. Great idea. And that's what you sell people, that separate people. People think, everything's new. You know what's the most powerful thing you could do now? Billboards. You can't swipe a billboard when you're on a highway. Oh, retail's dead. Yeah, open a retail in an airport. They can't get Amazon in there. It's a high traffic place, and it's a person who knows how to pay a lot of money because they're not taking a train or a car, and they're paying 30% more.
It's so true, because I think what you've had 10,000 reps 10,000 times from all of these companies that you've not only run but invested in. And so one of the cool things I think you're doing now that I don't hear you talk about as much is the CEO Access Program, and how you're kind of like sharing these pieces back to the next generation, not keeping it all to yourself. Can you talk a little bit about that?
CEO Access is it's a network of people like Codie, right? Yesterday's CEO used to be make it and they will come. Today's CEO is a person that They need to know who their brand is. The most successful CEOs I know, they're doing millions and billions of dollars, but nobody knows who they are. But yet the kid in the mailroom gets pissed off over a decision you make and puts something on social media, and now you got to fire 400 hardworking people in your company because you didn't have the time to go get a spin doctor, handle PR, because nobody knows who you are. Everybody is a brand today. You remember, like we were talking about, information is easy to get. The new currency of today is attention. And so there's a million real estate brokers. There's only one Barbara Corcoran. There's a million, well, not a million, but there's a lot of basketball owners, only one Mark Cuban. And by the way, I'm not even a great designer. I got to tell you, Tom Ford and Karl Lagerfeld are rolling over saying, how dare he call himself a designer? You put a '05 and a FUBU on a bunch of sweatshirts. That's it. But I'm on Shark Tank and the world knows who I am. And I've advised every single living president till today. They haven't asked me for money. I can walk into any room and they know who I am and my name. I can open any company I want to, and I can walk into any room I want to because my name goes in the room before I do. There's a million real estate developers, but the most powerful man in this world today knew how to brand himself as not only real estate, and I'm not getting into politics. He's the president of the country. So when you look at CEOs, they don't know who to talk to because they're running big companies. But once they were doing 5 million, they could talk to these people here. Great. 50 million, these people here. Once they start to get to 2 million, 200 million, who are they going to talk to? Mark Cuban's not picking up the phone. And this person, even though they're doing great, can't help them. So that's what it is, because when I go on to a show like with Codie, I go, hey, Codie, I got 2 or 3 great. I can't be on the show tomorrow. What, the episode's all gonna be about me? Hey, you're looking for people like Matt Ebert, the Crash Champions, or my buddy who's doing several billion, changing the way hearing is being done. You would say, I'm interested. When I take a stage like Aspire, I can't take slide of one and at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. When I go on the cover of Inc., I start bringing these people through. When I walk ringside at a UFC fight and I say to somebody, you don't know this person? Well, I go to Vanity Fair and I introduce my buddy Brandon to Tim Cook. That's what CEO Access is: walking CEOs in the room and walking them in the right CEOs for the right reason. People who don't want to be famous, they want to be respected for the right reason as a voice of authority in their space. But you can go to ceoaccess.com. I don't even know it half the time. It's just we qualify people.
We'll drop it in the show notes too.
Yeah,
So
no,
go click the
I
link.
do appreciate it.
I love that. Why did you do that? Why not just keep it all for yourself?
Because first of all, I can't use it all myself. Second of all, it really happened because one of my buddies, who was a CEO of a very successful company, said, why don't you help me? And I said, I'm the people shark. I'm helping the people. He's like, yeah, I know you're helping the people, but I know this man. And I know this person is one of the purest people on the planet. And he said, I understand you helping everyday entrepreneurs. I think you should. But if you help me, you got more people like me thinking like you, and I'm going to help millions of people. And I said, holy shit, I'm becoming the thing I was fighting against. And I decided to help him, and he decided to help so many more people. So if I can build an army of a couple of people like that, it's just great. See, it's why you help people. It's why we help people. The people in our industry who, they come, they go, they show jets, they show cars, they try to sell you this thing. Nothing against them. But the people who are lasting a long time, they get on, they keep talking, they put out more and more books, they help more. They just want to help because we've been rewarded for the people who
100%.
helped us.
Yeah, I mean, one, it's fun. There's I don't know that there's it is selfish in some ways. Because
Very selfish, because you learn how other people are doing things that you didn't even think about.
Totally. And then when you actually say like, I mean, how about this? How many people do you think DM you and email you per day asking for advice?
DM and email me per day, I would say 100.
And then of those, how many, if you gave them the advice they asked for, would actually take action on
None.
it? Yeah, it's fucking...
One.
Yeah, one maybe.
But when they do.
Yeah, but when they do, it's incredible. And so I think the other part that's really cool is when you find best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, right? So like when you find somebody who's just done the right thing, keeps moving, takes action, and then they take they're going to take your advice
Doesn't it
and
feel good
run.
when somebody, and you go, go, "Hey, you know what? Your book or what you said that day, I've been doing it and I have this type of business." You go, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
And then you feel like, you know what? Honestly, that information was out there. You were going to do it regardless. But thank God you got it from me.
Yeah, it's a service.
Because in the community, there is people who obviously we don't know and we're training, but then it is me calling my fellow sharks because that's what we do. We say, "Hey, where are you doing an interview at?" One of my CO access people we've been trying to get there do. Nelly, of course, but she's on The Apprentice. Katrina Camp. And so we always say, I told Katrina, I said, "Katrina, here's what we're going to do in the CO Access crew. We're all going to get Laverne and Shirley jackets. We're going to have a secret, you know, a secret handshake."
She like it? Was she in for that?
She's like, "I'm cool with the jacket, but the handshake."
The other stuff, not so much. All right, let's talk. I want to go high and then I want to go low. So let's talk about holding company structure really quickly. I think people think it's really sexy to own a bunch of businesses and invest in them, and then they probably don't realize a lot of the difficulties. Like, I mean, how much do you think you pay people just to oversee your companies that you have interests in?
Really good question. So I first did a lot of the deals, Shark Tank and off Shark Tank. I did a lot of the deals where I had an attorney look through them and this and that. And for the first year in Shark Tank, and the sharks are learning too, and that's like you said, like being a little selfish. The first year and the deal flow wasn't that good. The show was new, nobody can understand. I spent about $750,000 in attorney fees alone just to look at these deals. Now I put it through a VC software. It cost me $10,000 to do everything. But brand managers looking over it, I could be at $250,000 just looking at brand managers. We're not talking about CFOs. We're not talking about other things like that. Also, I look at a lot of the deals I do options on the deals because, I'm not trying to fill out all this corporate filing and stuff like that. And especially if you're late on your K1s and I'm late and all kind of stuff like that. So I try to do, if we hit certain numbers, then I can activate my options and my shares in a certain period of time.
Yeah, I love that. Then you basically you don't have to deal with the tax consequences of
Correct.
it.
And then you know what? In 3 years, if it doesn't work out, well, the IRS says you're allowed to write that off.
Yeah, and then also the company can keep your equity. Hey, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so I'm not being selfish.
So what did I do? You know what? I went out and I was a spokesperson for a long period of time. It didn't pop. Don't worry about it. Take whatever I did. It's yours.
That's super smart. How many bank accounts do you think you have to manage all this?
Um, I probably have about 35, probably, maybe 40.
Yeah. And what about when it comes for organizational structure? So like how do you think about the holding company that is Daymond John? Is that how you think about it? Is it a holding company?
I wish I was as organized as you may think I am. I'm Willy Wonka, but the chocolate factory got a lot of shit going on in it. But yes, I do have that. I work with, there's a lot of different things. I work with a guy named Hillel Presser, who is a really amazing attorney for asset protection
Yeah.
for holding companies and various other things like that. He's one of 12 people out there that this is all they focus on because it's important. One thing about it's very hard to make money, super hard to keep it. I'll give you an example. I have an RV. And he was telling me, and I was like, "Okay, well, we got the RV." He said, "Put it on the RV LLC, no problem." He said, "Who's the satellite radio?" Satellite radio, my wife, because we have a satellite radio account. He said, "You just pierce your corporate veil." I said, "Because if you get in an accident, they can just say the judge will say you didn't respect your LLC because your wife. It should have been under the RV's LLC." A lot of people don't realize this, and they can come after everything you own if, God forbid, you had an accident. That can happen with it. It's a taxi cab model or the apartment model. You get one holding company, but each taxi cab has its medallion, it's this, it's that. A lot of people don't know about how to protect themselves against a lot of these things because, unfortunately, the people listening to us, they're probably good people. The people that wake up every day to wonder how to screw you when you're running a real business, other people going, "I don't have anything to run. I want to scam you. I want to buy the fake Shark Tank ads. All the sharks invested in this pill. I want to put out if you only loan, So there's a lot of, I hate to say, there's a lot of bad people that they're looking every day on how to hurt you.
Yeah, one of my favorite mentors, he had this line. He has a breakfast he does, and it's once a month with a group of other big time entrepreneurs, much bigger than me. And he goes, "There's a price of entry, though, for it." And he goes, "The only people that get invited to this breakfast are people that make," and it was a certain amount of money. So a certain amount of money, people that have been entrepreneurs and divorced before. And then finally, people have been sued. He goes, "You got to be sued, you got to be divorced, and you got to have made this much money. And then you got to have lost this much money." He goes, "And then I know that you will know what it's been like to be an entrepreneur."
That's hardcore.
It's
Yeah.
hardcore. And, whether I believe all of that or not, there's a truth to it. Like, have you ever met a successful entrepreneur that hasn't had to go through some type of lawsuit?
Absolutely. You have to. Um, when because the reason why I think as an entrepreneur you go through a lot of lawsuits is, number one, you're taking a lot of swings. Number two, you're really trying to attach to other people because you're this hopeless romantic that everybody wants to strive for better things in life. And then you do get someplace, you start to move up here, and these people start to resent you or not understand. You never hear the story of, you always hear, I helped start the company. No, you weren't shit. You didn't help start the company. You came along after we kind of started the company. You wanted a free ride. We had to move on, and now you're the one complaining. There's a big '05 on all the FUBU jerseys. You ever seen this '05? It's obnoxious '05. Why? Because I always wanted to be 5 partners. It's only 4 of us. There's 10 people with that fifth partner that never stuck around. So there's 10 people out there going, I'm the 5th member of FUBU. There's 10 of the 5th Beatles running around.
I don't think people talk about that enough because it seems to me like one of the most important deals you ever do is the people you partner with.
I've never had a pitch going, let me tell you something. I'm not going to do anything I say I'm going to do, and I'm going to make excuses about every single other person around me, and no matter what, it's going to be your goddamn problem.
I wish somebody would. If we could read their mind, then we'd know that a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, nobody ever said that to me.
Yeah, but a lot of people do. But then I remember that that's the reason why it's easy for people who don't do that to win. Not easy, but easier. Like, thank God.
If every single one of them knew what you and I were going to do, there's no place for you and I.
Exactly. So you got
That's
to
it.
appreciate the haters and the flakers, I think. Okay, I want to end on one last question for you. You got a mic, and every entrepreneur you want to speak to standing in front of you, what do you leave them with? What do you tell them?
What is your why? Are you doing it because you want to do it? Or are you doing it because your parents told you this is what success looks like? Are you doing it because you don't want to take that out, you don't want to put up that out of business sign because you're embarrassed of what the community is going to say to you? Are you doing it because you think that somehow you're going to arrive at one moment and the work is going to stop? Why are you doing it? Because once you know why you're doing it, then you're going to know the goals that you need to set and the homework you need to do to enforce those goals. If you don't know why you're doing it, you need to go to a place to understand that why. I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a billionaire by choice. I'm offered often, huge venture deals. A bank, very famous, well, the most powerful bank said to me, Daymond, you know what? I'll give you a 1.3 billion credit line. I'll put a merger and acquisition person over there with you. We bank the top 1,000 companies in the world. We know they have these initiatives for minority vending. Everybody will respect the fact that you're a minority vendor because of your history and you're on TV. We will give you the money. We want you to acquire, like in a hotel, we want you to acquire a rug company, a lighting company, a furniture company. Da, da, da. We want to then put you into bid for this stuff, and you will most likely get the contract because of who you are, the funding we have for you, and your history. And I guarantee you, Daymond, you probably will make an average of whatever. I'm 56 years old. That's a 20-year run with 20,000 people working for me. I will be 76 at that time. The worst time of my life is when I had 7, 8 homes and all my friends enjoyed the homes. I can only sleep in one bed. I have a little 9-year-old girl. She will never see me again if I go back to doing that. I already missed my 31 and my 26-year-old growing up because I was so busy working. Why would I do that? No. So what is your why? Why would I do that? So somebody could see me on a yacht? I can rent that yacht and give it right back to the owner. So let that be their damn problem.
No more pets.
Why are you doing it? Why do you not know your wife and your husband? Are you going out making sure that a lot of people see you that can't stand you? So why are you doing it? Know your why. But if you're waking up every day because you're solving a problem for a person, you're bringing them joy, and you love it, then you do that.
Daymond John, this was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Daymond John is the man. If you guys liked this episode, wait until you see what's next. You are going to want to subscribe and you are going to want to follow along because our next guest is just as good as this one was. And I thought this one was incredible. Also, if you guys want to hear more about Daymond's new program, it's ceoaccess.com. I thought it was pretty incredible and I'm excited that he came and talked to us about it today. Lastly, I want to hear what you guys think about this episode. Drop in the comments for me. What questions should I have asked that I didn't? What was your favorite question? And what did you think was not a very good question? I'll hear all of them from you. I'll read all of them, and I'll make sure that we do better every single time. Thank you for being here. You are a very big deal to me and to us.